In The Lion King 2, we saw Kiara, Kovu, and Zira, but one royal cub who carried the power of the great kings was completely missing before the story even began. We even know The Lion King 2 was released in 1998, long before The Lion Guard ever existed. Yet somehow, the creators of The Lion Guard managed to connect both stories in a surprisingly clever way. In today's video, I will tell you the real reason behind Kion's mysterious absence and how his story actually fits perfectly into the Lion King timeline. When The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride came out in 1998, fans believed they were watching the full continuation of Simba's story. The movie opens with a single cub, Kiara, being presented to the animals of the Pride Lands, just like Simba once was. From that moment, every part of the story belongs to her. We watch Kiara grow from a curious cub into a strong young lioness who learns about love, loyalty, and leadership. Her bond with Kovu, her challenges with Simba, and her eventual rise to become queen tie up the royal legacy. By the end, the film feels like a full circle moment. Mufasa's lineage passing from Simba to Kiara. But something was missing. Throughout Simba's Pride, there is no roar, no name, and not a single hint that Simba and Nala had another cub. Even Simba and Nala always say, "our daughter," never "our children." To anyone watching, that meant Kiara was the only heir and the bloodline seemed secure. Then, years later, Disney threw everyone a curveball. They introduced The Lion Guard, a TV series focused on Kion, the second-born cub of Simba and Nala. Suddenly, another royal child in the same Pride Lands and around the same time as Kiara. Fans instantly noticed the gap and flooded message boards, asking the same question: where was Kion during The Lion King 2? At first, many fans assumed Disney had simply made a continuity mistake. Then, something interesting happened. The deeper fans looked, this wasn't just a slip-up. The Lion Guard timeline seemed to exist in a hidden pocket within Simba's Pride. That idea changed everything. Instead of dismissing it as a mistake, fans began treating it like a mystery to solve. Maybe Disney hadn't forgotten about Kion at all. Maybe his absence was intentional. After all, Kion's story in The Lion Guard wasn't about ruling, it was about protecting the circle of life beyond Pride Rock. That meant he could have been on his own journey while Kiara's story unfolded back home. The two tales could coexist, just on different paths. That's where the mystery deepened. What started as a simple "where was Kion?" question grew into something larger, a hunt for meaning behind the storytelling itself. Was this just about a missing character, or about how Disney built a layered world that could still surprise fans decades later? The missing prince wasn't just a forgotten cub anymore. He became a symbol of curiosity, of hidden stories waiting to be found. Once fans began piecing together clues about Kion's missing role in The Lion King 2, the next question naturally followed. Was this a deliberate creative choice, or just a result of real-world timing? The truth is simpler than most theories, but it's also what makes the story so fascinating. When The Lion King 2 was released, Kion didn't exist. The writers and animators working on the sequel had no idea that 17 years later, a new cub named Kion would be introduced to the royal family. By the late 90s, Simba's story had already reached its natural conclusion. Simba's Pride wasn't written to expand the royal bloodline, it was designed as a self-contained sequel about love, loyalty, and unity. Disney's goal was clear from the start: to mirror Romeo and Juliet through Kiara and Kovu and heal the divide between the two rival prides. In that kind of story, adding another royal cub would have weakened the focus. So, in reality, Kion wasn't missing. He just hadn't been imagined yet. The Lion Guard didn't appear until 2015, long after the original Lion King writers, directors, and animators had moved on. The show was created for a new generation that grew up with the original films but wanted something fresh. That's where the genius of Disney's approach comes in. When they finally introduced Kion, they didn't rewrite history, they carefully worked his story around the existing movies. The creators of The Lion Guard studied the established timeline and found a gap between The Lion King and Simba's Pride. In this gap, Kiara is still a young cub, Zira is planning for revenge, and Simba is ruling the Pride Lands. Kion's story fits neatly here. His mission as leader of the Lion Guard happens while Kiara is growing up, which explains why their stories don't directly overlap. Every step of Kion's adventure builds toward the events of Simba's pride, ending just before Kiara's final scene. It's a perfect bridge, connecting two generations of stories without breaking the lore. What once looked like a timeline mistake became one of Disney's smartest fixes. They turned a 17-year gap into a way to expand the Lion King's world. Kion's story doesn't replace Kiara's, it completes it, showing what was happening beyond the Pride Lands while her journey unfolded. So when fans ask, why wasn't Kion in The Lion King 2? The real answer is this: he wasn't forgotten. He was added later with a purpose. His story bridges the old and the new, turning a missing piece into a hidden chapter of The Lion King's legacy. And that brings us to the next level of the story, the in-universe reason for his absence. Because while production timelines explain the how, the world of the Lion Guard reveals the why. After defeating Scar's spirit in the Lion Guard, Kion was bitten by the snake Ushari. The venom poisoned him, not just his body, but also his mind. It made him angry, unsure, and afraid of losing control. His scar even looked like Scar's, reminding him how close he was to becoming what he feared most. Because of the venom, Kion began to lose control of the roar, the power he was born to use for good. But now, every time he used it, it grew more dangerous. Rafiki saw that normal healing couldn't help him, so he sent Kion and his team on a long journey to the Tree of Life, a place far beyond the Pride Lands, where they could find true healing. The trip took them across deserts, mountains, and strange lands. Kion's wounds slowed him down, and their travels lasted for months. That's where The Lion King 2 fits in. While Simba and Kiara were fighting to save the Pride Lands, Kion was far away, trying to heal his body and spirit. Kion's story mirrors Simba's exile. Both were princes who had to leave home to find themselves. At the Tree of Life, Kion met Queen Jana, Rani, her grandmother, and the Night Pride. Jana taught him patience and peace. Rani showed him leadership built on love, not power. Bit by bit, Kion learned to control the roar again. He discovered that true strength comes from calm, not anger. While Kion was growing and learning, Kiara was fighting her own battle at home. She united the two prides and brought peace back to the land. When Kion finally returned, the war was over. He realized that he wasn't meant to fight Zira's battle. His path was about inner growth. That's how the two stories connect. Kion and Kiara were on different journeys at the same time, each learning what it means to lead. His story fills in the missing space of The Lion King 2, turning what seemed like a plot hole into a complete picture. In the end, Kion wasn't missing. He was becoming who he was meant to be. But when you look closer, Kion and Kiara's stories were never meant to cross. They were meant to complete each other. Kiara's journey was all about the heart. She learned how love can heal old wounds and how true strength comes from compassion. Kion's path, on the other hand, was about the spirit. His story was about learning control, balance, and humility. Where Kiara brought peace among lions, Kion brought harmony within himself. His time at the Tree of Life taught him to lead through calm and wisdom instead of pride and anger. Both faced trials that tested their hearts. Both carried the lessons Mufasa passed to Simba. Lessons about courage, balance, and respect for the circle of life. They were two sides of the same legacy, showing that leadership isn't just about ruling, it's about growing. When Kion finally returned to the Pride Lands, he met Vitani, who had become the new leader of the Lion Guard. Instead of taking back command, Kion chose to pass the roar to her. That moment showed how much he had changed. He no longer saw power as something to hold on to, but something to share. Because of his humility, the spirit of Ascari rewarded him by restoring the roar, proving that he had truly mastered it. After that, Kion returned to the Tree of Life, where he became king beside Rani. Kiara stayed in the Pride Lands, ruling as queen beside Kovu. Two royals, two lands, but one family legacy. Both continued Simba's teachings in their own ways. Kiara through love and unity, Kion through wisdom and balance. That's the hidden harmony behind Kion's absence. He wasn't missing from the story, he was completing it. His journey gives the Lion King a deeper meaning. Real strength doesn't come from power alone, and real love doesn't come without strength. The prince we never saw wasn't lost. He was growing into the lion he was meant to be. So maybe Kion wasn't missing. He was exactly where Destiny needed him to be. While Kiara was uniting two prides, Kion was healing two worlds. What do you think? Should Kion have appeared in The Lion King 2? Or was his story better left untold? Put your thoughts in the comments.